Hey, hey,
Hey,
I'm Brian,
I'm Kristen.
and this is the Brian and Kristen podcast, episode number 15. Uh, we're a brother and sister, and each week we take questions from the audience, all kinds of different questions, and here we are. So, how you doing, Kristen?
I'm doing well. I am back in Florida for a couple days and have 4 mediumship readings after this today. So busy day.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good. Well, we'll get on into it then, so we don't keep you too keep you here too long, so you can get back to work. Um, so you this week's question actually came from somebody that you know, right? A
Yes,
friend of yours.
yeah, a friend of mine. And a little bit of the backstory on this was I didn't know that she has been watching every single podcast episode.
Whoa.
I know she does have a job and she does have a life, but somehow she's watching all of our podcasts. And I believe her fiance is catching up on all of them now as well. So that was shocker number one, that she's been watching all of them. And she does support all of our stuff. She does follow your Facebook stuff and certainly knows your political views. So that's funny. And then what I also that she shared with me was that she asked, and this is part of the question, um, well, she's probably watching and I'm going to maybe screw this up. But anyway, essentially, like paraphrasing, that she wishes that she and her brother got as along as well as we did. And I was like, well, it hasn't always been this way. So her question is, did we get along as kids? And if not, when did it change? And then when did we get closer? So um, I think it would be, well, you can start because I'm always the one starting the questions, answers.
Well, first off, we're half a country apart, so that helps.
Right. Just stay at a distance.
Let me think. Well, so really, I remember growing up, me being more wild and you being more quiet, right?
Yeah.
Is that pretty accurate? And then I guess too, like I was doing sport wrestling, and you were doing pageants and stuff, right? So I felt like Dad was taking me to all the matches, and Mom was taking you to most of the pageants, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
And I mean, he would go to the pageants and stuff as well, but I know that Mom was kind of like more.
The
Um,
pageant mom, but not a pageant mom.
what's that?
I said a pageant mom, but not a pageant mom.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I guess that this is a pretty good question. I'd say that. Hmm, well, growing up, I mean, we were together, but not really so much, right? I mean,
Yeah, so I'll share my take on this and you can chime in. So, what I think is, number one, I was afraid of you because of your temper.
okay.
And somewhere along the way, I think you've worked on it. So it's not as scary. But I remember as a kid, because I'm quiet and like that stuff would scare me, that I would just go hide in my room and like avoid you. So that probably didn't help. And then also, I never knew when there might be like a wrestling match where you needed to practice. So I thought it was best to stay away from you. Um, but then I think that through a lot of this, like obviously after dad passed and then having the podcast, and then that I mean, obviously you do so much in the acting and I do some of that, but getting, I think we have more similarities now, things that are common. So we've got those conversations. And also, for those of you who don't know, Brian and I wrote a movie script about a trial that our dad did. And I think that helped too, because we spent a lot of time working on that. So I think through some of those things that we found as common have helped.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that makes sense because I was always getting angry as a kid, so might as well just stay away.
Yeah.
So I guess it's good that I don't get as angry. I mean, I guess I do. It's just on Facebook, but
Fine. I don't have to go on your Facebook then. And it's not directed towards me.
uh, so yeah, I mean, because one thing when I would have friends over, they'd be like, "Oh man, your sister like never leaves her room."
Yeah, because I never knew what was going to happen, which Brian you were going to get.
Yeah. Well, sorry about that, but at least I'm somewhat better now.
Yeah, I haven't seen you get angry like that in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, I don't even know what would cause that, but I would just be, I mean, angry. Sometimes I mean, I ran away a couple of times. I don't know if you remember those, but
That's right. Didn't you take your imaginary friend with you?
yeah, well, he's still with me. Hey, Rick.
Exactly. Who we now realize isn't probably fake.
um, so yeah, I think I mean, yeah, I guess that kind of growing up, I think in high school we were getting along better though, right? Most of the time.
Yeah. I do think though that you're right in that we did do very different things. Like you were always in sports practice. Like I actually think we weren't home much at the same time because of always being involved in different types of activities and things. So we weren't really around that much together.
Yeah, we kind of had I mean, we were living in the same house, but we almost had two different worlds going on, right?
Yep.
And and especially because, well, I mean, in high school we were in the same high school, but not in junior high even, right? So yeah, I mean, so we had so it was, yeah, we were definitely in different kind of worlds, and um I don't know, I feel like I would easily get annoyed with some of your friends and stuff when you guys would be together, or
And now I look back and I was annoyed with my friends. So I get it.
so so um and yeah, I just kind of, even, I just kind of had a rowdier time too. Because I even look at like how we went, because I wanted to go to Covington because the kids there were rowdy, rough kids, and um so I think that yeah, we just kind of had two different worlds, strangely enough, in the same house, basically.
But I think that's like, people think that because someone's your family member, then you're going to be close to them. But I don't think that that's necessarily true. It's like, well, that's just your family. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be friends per se. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
then what would you say if you were to give advice to this friend of mine about maybe having a better relationship with her brother? What would you suggest would be a good way to do that?
podcast. uh
Yeah, that's definitely one way.
Write a movie about your dad. uh um let's see, that's a good question. I shouldn't be joking about it though. Um Way to have a better relationship with her brother. I mean, you got to try to understand, maybe forget the past. People change, forgive, forget. I mean, the best you can, without knowing too much of the details. That's what I would say, is just kind of try to start new. That's probably the best thing. You got to try to start new, right? Because you could hold my temper against me forever. And everybody knew I had a temper as a kid. I mean, dad knew it. He was always afraid that was going to ruin me. And I still have my temper in certain situations. I mean, how many fights did I get in as a kid? I mean, I can't even count how many. So, uh, but you gotta like, because nobody's gonna break out of that if people just keep putting it on you. Oh, you got bad temper. Oh no, I don't. Oh no, I don't. And then you're gonna have it. It's never gonna go away. So I would say you got to just kind of start fresh. I mean, give them another try. You know, is probably the best thing I could say.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
Yep.
that's good because it's like how do I explain it? If you have an expectation of somebody always to be messing up or whatever it is, or that they're always a loser, I'm not saying that she thinks this at all, but just saying like if you're like, oh, that person's always in trouble or they never do anything right, then that's all you can ever see them doing. They keep doing those same things to fulfill what you think is how they act or behave versus maybe trying to see them in a different way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got it. Yeah, because it's kind of like I think that you're gonna have to change your perspective on them, right? Because one thing, when I first left Covington, when I was like 19 or 20, that was good for me was I could start my life again. So in Covington, you're one way, and Covington's our town, it's a small town. In a small town, people see you in a certain way. It's hard to get people to change their perspective on you when they've known you from the time you're little. But when you go somewhere new and you have a new nobody knows you. I remember being in Pasadena, California, like, whoa, man, this is awesome. Nobody here knows me. I don't know one person in this whole place. So now you can reinvent yourself, start over. And sometimes people need to reinvent themselves, right? They need to start over. Uh, and it can be hard when people have a notion of you from what they know of you in your past, right? They see and just remember, right? Because what if you were like, okay, I'm not going to be shy anymore, and boom, you're not shy anymore. Or if you're like, okay, well, I got to change my way, but people are used to you being kind of rough, then you're going to keep getting that. So for maybe this situation, if they can look at the person that they're dealing with from a different perspective, or try to understand, well, why are they always like that? you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's good advice.
what do you think on that?
I think that that's true, right? And also understanding, and I do try to do this with most people, is like understanding, like we don't know about somebody's past or how they grew up or what was actually happening um, to them sometimes, and sometimes they're just acting from things that have happened in the past that they haven't been able to overcome. So I don't know. I think sometimes trying to just understand that we don't necessarily know everything that's going on with somebody, even if it is a sibling, because you don't actually know how they're dealing with something, even though it might not be the way that, one about like maybe you would handle it one way and I, it doesn't mean that it's, I don't know. I think just trying to understand where that person's coming from.
Yeah, because two people are going to handle something different, right? Because take our situation, right? If I had a problem with somebody, they would know. I mean, it would be meet you at the park at 3 o'clock, right? Right. And then the next day, it's all over, right? If you had a problem with somebody, I'm thinking it might likely boil into you for a while, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is going to cause a big ruckus for until it's all over. But then it's like, how many kids was I like had disputes with that I'm now friends? There's no dispute. I don't have any beefs anymore with anybody I went to school with because somebody's asking me what I went to 25-year class reunion. I was like, of course, I got no beefs with nobody. Even though I had beefs with them then, I mean, that's gone. I mean, everything I had to say to anybody, I've already said. So, but people that could be come off as like bad, right? If you're like, man, that's a mean thing. But then the other could be you can hold it in, and that's not good either, right?
Right.
So, so yeah, that's kind of, so yeah, I guess it's been kind of rocky, maybe us, but not really to me. I mean, I've always thought of you as a good sister. I mean, I know I feel like I'm the one that was causing the problem. So, you're just
Right.
the,
That's what I would say though too, is like having the conversation about things like that may have happened in the past. Cause like from my perspective, I know I had some stories that I shared with you. I was like, did you know that I thought this or this was happening? And you're like, really? I had no idea. So it was like also just having conversations about things that happened in the past that I perceived one way and you perceived something totally different. And I thought, like I thought you never liked me because I was like an academic or like studied a bunch, and I thought that you like didn't like that about me. So but when I brought that up and you didn't care, you're like, well, if you're successful then I'll be successful. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Dude, it was like, to me, it was more like I was out doing my stuff, and oh yeah, your sister's a bookworm, yeah, she's a bookworm, right? That's good. So like, which was fine. I mean, I didn't even think like. To me, I didn't even think, oh man, she's in their room because she scared me. That's just the way I was. So I wasn't like, but you can take on, that's the other thing. People can take on projections of what people think of them without knowing, right? Or
Mhm.
what they might not even be thinking about it at all. But people will be, you'll hear that sometimes. People will say, oh, well, this person, I don't think they're even thinking about you,
Right. That's
or
the thing. They're like, why are you worried about what they're thinking about you? They're just concerned about themselves.
yeah. So I was so busy worried about all the things and going to school and dealing with all these people at school and that, I wasn't really thinking, "Oh, my sister's afraid of me because I'm crazy. I can lose it in a second, you know."
Yeah.
So yeah, people can be in the same room, the same world, and it can be two different versions of what's happening. So, maybe for your friend, maybe she's seeing it one way and her brother's seeing it a different way. And
Yep.
they got to kind of see, oh man, they might be, just on two different pages that can maybe they can get on the same page.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope they start their podcast soon and they can just work it out.
Wouldn't that be crazy if it's just brothers and sisters across the country start
Their podcast
getting
to fix the
pod-
problems.
yeah, answer all their problems on podcasts.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Nick, if anybody has, that was a whole, see, we get all kinds of questions, huh? That was a real thoughtful, that was almost like a therapy session question right there, right?
I haven't heard you try to answer a question like that probably ever.
Yeah, dude, I'll avoid that type of, yeah, everything's fine. Okay, man, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I lost my temper. So what? Hey, you're still walking, aren't you? I didn't lose it that bad.
Carry on.
So, um, so yeah, if anybody watching has questions they want us to answer, we'll be answering them. Send us a message or a comment message, and we will answer it on the next one. And we're already done 15 podcasts now, so good job on that, Kristen.
Yeah, that's
Sticking with,
every week. We haven't missed a
yeah,
week, I don't think.
yep, every week. So and thank you guys for watching, and thanks for joining me, Kristen, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Bye.